For the first part of our trip, we traveled down Highway 95 and ended up in Lewiston, and traveled across into Washington and stayed at the state park on the Snake River just outside of Clarkston at Chief Timothy State Park. We had a nice day at Chief Timothy. It was warm and sunny and very enjoyable, and we had a very enjoyable night. Then we got back on Highway 12 and we traveled in snowy weather. And we went all the way down through Walla Walla and into Oregon. Once in Oregon, it was continuing to snow, and we just traveled down and made it to Highway or Interstate 84, and then we traveled further down until we got to Baker City, and once in Baker City, we traveled east on Highway 86, which is considered the scenic Hell's Canyon Way, and we traveled all the way over here to the Oxbow Dam and stayed at the Copperfield State Park for the night. It was a very nice state park. There were only 2 of us in that whole state park, but it was nice. It was cold, but it was very nice. The next morning, we awoke and we traveled up this Highway 71, and this stretch along here to the Brownlee Dam was fine until we got to the Brownlee Dam and we started heading up, and that was white knuckle driving. The highway was sloped down towards the dam, and there was no guardrail, and so in our RV it was just white knuckle driving. We continued on. We got into, I believe that's either Weiser or Weiser, and we went further down, and then we ended up on the interstate and traveled through Boise, continued on 84, and we went to the next campsite, which at this point was the Three Island Crossing State Park, where we stayed for 2 nights. It was a very nice state park. We wanted to stay there because of the history of the wagon trains coming through and crossing the Snake River at the particular point, and we thought it would be a good home base so that we could go into some other areas and look at some of the other waterfalls which are in the video. We ended up only staying 2 nights. I think we'd booked 3, but we decided that it was just so windy and so cold that we wanted to continue south, and so we did that, and we ended up heading south and then going into Utah. We continued on down from Highway 84 and went into Utah, and it was very, very snowy. The roads are great, but we just ended up driving. We drove all the way right through Salt Lake City, which at the time we went, everything was moving smoothly, no real problems, and we just continued to follow the road down. We wanted to get as far as we could to warmer temperatures, so we just kept traveling down and further down. And we ended up whoops, I got blurry there, sorry. Just before Cedar City, Utah, and we were, I can't remember, I think we were somewhere in this area over here. I think it was maybe milepost 100, somewhere in there. There was it was like a gravel pit, and we stayed there that first night, and it worked. It was nice, and a lot of people there were, I don't know, maybe 5 or 6 other people that were there and had a good night. Then we continued down and we went through Cedar City, and we ended up going down here, and we drove all the way through Zion, and Zion was ridiculously busy for April. It was hot, and we ended up staying at the entrance, I think, for like 45 minutes to an hour, just waiting to get in. There were so many people. So we didn't even really get to stop. We just kept going. And we decided that we were going to go in to just continue to travel. So we ended up going up Highway 89, and we just traveled up here and got onto the scenic Highway 12, which everyone raves about, which we can verify it's absolutely beautiful, just beautiful. And so we just kept traveling. Didn't go through Bryce, but just went past it because we were going to visit it the next morning. And so we went into Escalante, which was really a very nice place. Did our laundry there. Just a really small town, but very nice. And we ended up staying outside of Escalante on the Hole in the Rock, just dispersed area, which I think is right in here. I believe somewhere in here, maybe it was over here somewhere. But we stayed there for the night. It was nice, it was warm, it was windy enough to dry clothes that I wanted to hang up. And so we spent the night there. Next morning we got up early and we traveled over here and we went to the Calf Creek area and did that hike, which was really beautiful. It's probably one I would do again. It was very pleasant, beautiful, beautiful place. Then we ended up, after that, we ended up going up to, then we continued on and we ended up going up to Capitol Reef, where we spent the night just outside of Capitol Reef. We ended up doing a couple of hikes there. And after that, then we traveled over here, which was a really interesting drive. It was very, very dry, very deserty, and ended up in Hanksville. And the people in Hanksville were very friendly and very nice. We really enjoyed just a little quick stop right there. And then we continued on down because we wanted to get into Canyonlands. And so we continued driving on down this direction. This direction, went past the Henry Mountains, ended up going through White Canyon, which was really interesting there. We had planned to stay probably in this area of the Valley of the Gods, but when we got here, there was a big sign that said, "Not advised for big trucks or RVs," and we had an RV, said blind corners and that type of thing, and my husband had had enough of white knuckle driving, just decided he didn't want to do that. So we ended up right here by this intersection. There was a camping sign, and so we ended up camping there for the night. There was one other person that was camped by us. Again, it was a nice place to camp. Then we continued on, and we went over here, and we went to Blanding. Blanding has a really nice grocery store, by the way. And then we headed north, and we went up this direction to Monticello, and we went up, and we ended up going further up here, and then we went into Needles, the southern part of Canyonlands, which is over here. There's actually 3 parts to Canyonland. There's the maze that's over here, and then there's islands in the sky that are up here, but we were in Needles, and the maze is more, I think it's more backcountry camping, which we hopefully will do that later. We'll bring our other vehicle down and do some backpacking in some of these areas that we saw. This particular trip was more of a discovery, just so we could look and see where we wanted to come back and do some extended trips. So we stayed there. I really liked Needles. I would definitely go back there and even do some backcountry things there too. I just really enjoyed it. And so after that, then we traveled up, saw the Wilson Arch, which is right along the road as you're driving, continued on, saw a Hole in the Rock, went into Moab, and Moab was a really nice little touristy town, but it was fun and pleasant, and again, the people were very friendly. We ended up staying on this particular road, which is the canyon, and spent 2 nights there and really enjoyed that canyon. It was really beautiful. Wanted to do a hike there, but because of the rain, we figured it probably wouldn't be safe to go up the canyon and do a hike there, but ended up doing Devil's Garden, which is right here, and then did Delicate Arch up in Arches. Then we continued driving up north, and we ended up spending the night at a dispersed site on Highway 6 in through here, halfway between Green River and Price. The next day, we drove up through Helper, trying to figure out where I went. Continued on this direction, went through Provo, Orem, and went to Heber City, drove through there, and then had a delightful lunch and nice visit with my husband's cousin in Park City. And then we just continued on, and we went up. We ended up skirting a lot of, Salt Lake, and went through Ogden, and then just went up Highway 15. So we got back into Idaho, and we just kept driving, went straight up and stayed in a place just outside of Blackfoot. There was a dispersed site there. And then the next day we just kept driving up 15, and we went into Montana. So once into Montana, we just continued on Highway 15, and we mistakenly took exit 44 because we wanted to go into Bannack. Don't do that. Take exit 59, which is paved, and go that direction. It's a very short drive, and get into Bannack State Park. We did that. That was a lot of fun. And then we continued on, and we ended up going up to close to Helena, and stayed with my husband's brother overnight, and visited with my husband's mom, who's in a retirement home just outside of Helena. And after that trip, we went over to Missoula and spent the night with another family member. Get in focus here. And then after that, we continued on home. Hi, ladies. You see all of them? Yep. You see them, Harley? I don't think you see them. We move forward where they go.